Hello and welcome. This is a chat to the professional, the show that has been designed to x-ray the activities of professional individuals and corporate bodies. I remain Martin Sobu and I'm sure glad to be with you. Today on the show, we are focusing once again on the achievement of Nigerian professionals abroad. Now, the essence of this particular interview shall be to expose those efficiencies and inefficiencies that governed Nigeria over the years. In the years past, we had quality training. In the years past, you could go to school to Nigeria and be the best in the whole world. And over time, a lot of things went wrong. But we have high hopes, and that's why today on A Chat to the Professional, we have another notable Nigerian who has made his mark across the globe. Having his basic training in Nigeria, from primary to tertiary, he attended public schools all the way and eventually became a lecturer. From Nigeria, he migrated to Europe. He moved over to Washington, D.C. to join the World Bank about 14 years ago. Today, he sits as one of the directors overseeing core operation services of course, for Africa region. And he is going to be my guest today on A Chat to the Professional. I will do the proper introduction by the time we return from this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. You're still watching A Chat to the Professional, and like I mentioned in my introduction, today we have another great Nigerian, someone who has done us proud, not just in the United States of America, but across the world. He got his basic training in Nigeria, rising through the rank, all the way, going through public schools from primary to tertiary, and eventually became a graduate and then a lecturer, and went on from there to also lecture from University of Maiduguri to New Zealand, and finally found himself at the World Bank. And today he sits as one of the Nigerian directors making their marks in the World Bank as the Director, Core Operations Services, Africa Region. So join me now as I welcome to the show on A Chat to the Professional today our own Ed Olowo-Okere. My pleasure.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Always a delight. I think the last time we met was sometime in 2002. So what has been the experience like in the World Bank? And you've been here now for over a decade.
Thank you. I recall the moment that you described in Lagos. Now, coming back to the question, the specific question that you asked, it has been a great pleasure being at the bank. I've been here now for 14 years. I joined the World Bank from New Zealand. And one thing I've noticed is that the training I got in Nigeria has adequately prepared me to be able to work and be able to compare favorably with my peers from around the world. Although I must explain that after my initial education in Nigeria, first in Maiduguri University and then in University of Lagos, I did a PhD in Britain, but I must say that the background that I had in Nigeria kind of remained fundamental to what I've been able to do thereafter. And so I think with that education and that background, I compare favorably with any of my peers from around the world.
Very well. Let's just take a look at the country called Nigeria, giant of Africa, as they say. Perhaps because of our size, of course, economically, I know that if well managed, no country in the continent of Africa will come anywhere near us. Do you think we are getting it right with policies let's even start from there.
I think you are touching on a very critical issue, and I would like to echo one of the statements you made, and that is we are blessed with a lot of resources, not just natural resources, but also human resources, that if everything is properly deployed, we should be one of the best countries I mean, we should be the best in Africa, and we should be one of the best countries in the world as well. So, now coming to the question, I think there are moments when we've come close to getting things right, and there are moments where we have also deviated and moved away from getting things right. I think there have been that lack of consistency over the years. Okay, in other countries you see that things kind of build upon each other, one policy kind of build on another, and they keep pushing and advancing and so on and so forth. I think it's that kind of continuity and building upon the basic, the previous policy and so on and so forth that we've not had in Nigeria. So that's one point. Then another thing is that there are various issues in different sectors, okay, that we could be tackling, and tackling them in a way that we don't look at one sector in isolation, but we recognize that, okay, you have this issue in agriculture, you have this issue in the education sector, you have this issue in health and so on and so forth, but you bring all of the issues together and think about how the solution to all of these issues can can be translated into policies that will be consistent and then will also be consistently implemented. I don't think we have been able to do that.
Thank you very much. I asked that question essentially because, yes, just like you said, blessed materially, intellectually, we are the best. Everybody said that. But it seems to me that there's a deliberate attempt by, unfortunately, the Nigerian political class, all right, not to make the best use of the resources that we have, perhaps for selfish interests. Maybe because if they do the right thing, some of the inefficiencies will be exposed. Maybe because if they do the right thing, some fraudulent channels might be blocked and they end up not getting as much money as they would. And that is the reason I asked that question, because outside our country, we all do very well. So what is it that you think we can do to ensure that when Nigerian professionals living abroad come home, they come in with those ethics that make those countries mighty, that that make them an envy of sort to our own people? What can we do to ensure that if an Ed Olowo-Okere, for instance, comes back home and becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that all those expertise, the experience that he brought to bear in World Bank to make him who he is, a respected professional at the World Bank, is translated into the governance of Nigeria?
Thank you. I think this is a very kind of interesting question, and I will try to address it in a number of ways. I think there are many factors that are playing together. Okay, we have the society itself, okay, and then we have the people, okay, and the people can influence the society. Of course, people make up the society, but the society can also influence the people as well, or do influence the people. And so you look at, for instance, an Edward Olowo-Okere go to Nigeria and maybe hold one position, but you have a larger kind of society. Okay, the society can help to make me to be able to do what I probably would like to do and do it better, but the society can also have a way to kill whatsoever it is that I may think I want to do. So I think there is this saying sometimes I do disagree with the saying, but to some extent it is true. That is, a society gets the kind of leadership that it deserves. Okay, I do disagree with that statement on a number of occasions when I look at, for instance, some of the leaders that have been in power, but were not necessarily selected or elected by the people, but they were imposed on them. So we got those leaders, but not necessarily what the Nigerian people deserve. But there have been occasions where also we have voted people into power that, well, they turn out to be what they have. So then let's now come to the issue, the question that you asked about how I can come, somebody like myself or any other Nigerian will come to Nigeria and will still be able to do, just have the same ethical value, concentrate on doing things and just working for the people the way I do here, because our mission here, as you know, is to make the life, is to improve the life of the poor, reduce poverty, and so on and so forth. Now, I think we have a problem with our value system in Nigeria. What is it that we recognize? Okay, if I come to Nigeria now, nobody will know me. Okay, but if I have a lot of money to throw around and so on and so forth, I will be made a chief. I'm not a chief yet, okay? So, but I imagine that somebody much younger than me, and but who has money and so on and so forth, will be chief in several places, okay? So we tend to place a lot of values on materials, money and so on and so forth, and so that's what we reward. So do we value our leaders on the basis of the value on what they are contributing, okay, and what they are contributing to improving the life of the people? Do we value them on that basis? So, I think in one way you need the society to change, and we need that kind of, I think, more like a revolution in terms of in the society for our what we value, our value system to change dramatically, so that we reward the right thing and we punish what is not appropriate. And also, just to conclude, in terms of an individual also coming from this environment, going back to Nigeria to do the right thing, I think it's also about the motive, the purpose. If I go today, I go to Nigeria to do the right thing, I can tell you that if that is my motive to go and contribute to the people, I will stay focused on it. If there are things that will not allow me to do that, you're going to find a situation where I will say, well, this is what I've come to do. I can't do it because the system will not allow me to do it. And then you expect me to pack my bags and go.
You hold it there. We are going to take a break, and then when we return, you will tell me how the society is built. Still watching A Chat to the Professional, and before we went on break, my guest, a professional of repute, someone who has paid his dues in the international community. He has tried to paint a picture of those factors that could make you want to do what ordinarily you shouldn't, not just as a Nigerian but as an individual. Of course, we've been so particular about Nigeria because he is a Nigerian, I am a Nigerian. But largely we are talking about Africa, a continent that is so richly blessed, a continent that ordinarily should be leading the world, but unfortunately, due to some selfish interest of a few individuals, our resources have been turned into enriching other continents, and we struggle to go visiting those other countries. And we are saying enough. Ed, before we went on break, we were talking about a society and the values. And what came to my mind was, who is the society? Who makes the society? Who are the people? How do we build a society? How do we ensure that we have a society that respects ethical values? A society that encourages professionalism? A society that upholds those moral values that were there when you were going to school that could make you on your own, even as you attended a public school, want to study hard and perhaps be ahead of the teacher in your class works to make good grades? That's my next question. So how do we mold a society that could give us these values?
Okay. I think we have to go back to basics, and there are two sides to it. We have the leadership, okay, and we also have the follow-ups. The leadership will need to be able to set the right tone, okay? Set the right tone in terms of what is it that they are doing, okay, and how they are doing what they are doing. If we have, for instance, I mean, I don't want to quote specific standards, yes, but if you have the kind of stories we have from Nigeria now about people in this assembly or that kind of whatever position, and they are doing what they are doing, okay, you sending the wrong message to people in the to the ordinary people. If we have elections where people have to rig to get to where they get to, then, I mean, for elections to be rigged, obviously those who are controlling the elections, those who are in government and so on and so forth, they have to have a role in it. Now, if you have that kind of situation continuing, if you have leadership who are people who are ruling, whether they are in National Assembly or in Judiciary or whatever they are, but decisions they are making is not necessarily in the interest of moving the country forward, but enriching their own pockets, okay, then we are setting the wrong tones for the public. So the leadership has to be right. I don't know if you, I mean, I'm not particularly in favor of one of a certain government, but if you remember, for instance, the 1983, 84, there was a period of about 20 months, where the leadership was, you have to keep your environment clean. You have to, we don't want any corruption, we don't want this and that, you have to be orderly and so on and so forth. You see people having to clean their environment. You see people at bus stops having to queue up. You see people in post office having to line up, okay, queue up and do this in an orderly way. You had, that tone was set from the top, and you can see that then you also have people being sentenced to 5 life terms just for for embezzling money and so on and so forth. With that kind of tone being set at the leadership level, you saw what kind of followed up. I remember even after that regime has left place, has been kind of checked out of power for several months. After that, I saw people queuing up in Yaba bus stop and in post offices and so on and so forth. Before
and
then we reverted to
relaxed.
Yes, and then we reverted to the whole way of doing things. So the leadership is very important, and so when the leadership set the right tone, then you have a good framework to do that. And then also we have to go, that leadership is not just at the government level, but it also goes as to the various levels in the towns, the cities, the family, and so on and so forth. We have to have the right tone being set.
You know why I asked that question was because my question about what makes Nigerian professionals come back home and begin to do things the usual way. Your answer to it pointed to a direction that looked as if it was a case of the people. So I just wanted to call your attention to that fact, and I'm glad you've said it. It's actually the leadership that determines the values that trickle down the line. You also pointed to the fact that when you do the right thing, you come home, you are probably not recognized. The same thing that, like a child to the professional suffers. We are doing the right thing. We are saying, let us stick to professional ethics, those values that will make us move forward. And of course, some people are somewhere thinking that, what is he talking about? Because of course they know what you're saying is exposing the inefficiencies of the system, and they're not going to support it. The same thing with fighting corruption. You fight it, they fight you back. We need the young ones out there who are watching you to draw this inspiration from you, that you went through a public school system and you got yourself to where you are now. And I should be asking you, for any of them watching you, what message is it that you'll be passing across, judging from your background, to say, hey boys, hey girls, you need to do this, you need to do that. You don't have to attend the most expensive school to achieve.
Okay.
Getting from you.
Thank you, baby. Before I go into that message, just to add one more thing to the background, okay? I happen to come from a family, my parents are not educated. None of them can read or write, okay? And I also happen to be the first person among the immediate that family member to actually go to university. So it's not like I have somebody I was looking up to, okay? And I went to public primary school, public secondary school, and to University of Maiduguri, and then go thereafter to some other places. Now, the message, I mean, one thing I would like to communicate to them is this. They don't have to look at who the leaders of today, the way they are behaving, and think that that is the way life is, okay? That they have a lot of money from probably not doing anything, okay? And that's the way. No, life does not work that way. And it may be like that today, but it's not going, definitely not going to be like that tomorrow. And that they can be whatever they aspire to be with the help of God by working hard, okay? And that working hard means going to school, whatsoever school, whether it's public or private school, whatever their parents can afford, studying very hard, and being very disciplined about their studies, and with God's help, they will be what they aspire to be. I mean, whatever level of, if you try to cut corner, at one point in future, you're going to pay for it. But if you've really kind of settled down, studied hard, do the right thing, you will benefit at the end of it.
Thank you very much. And finally now and briefly, President Goodluck Jonathan, we all know, has assembled perhaps one of the best teams, you know. What will you be adding as your own voice to project and policy executions to ensure that the average Nigerian feels the impact? It's biting hard, but we all know that there are things that could be done to better the life of the ordinary Nigerian.
I'll say two things. The first one is, let all the policies and everything the government is doing be focused on lifting the ordinary people out of poverty. Second, I would say, get rid of inefficiencies in government.
All right, we are hoping and believing that someday soon you'll be a part of that team to get rid of inefficiency in governance of our great country, Nigeria. Nigeria remains one of the best countries in the world. If you've traveled around, you will understand what I'm talking about. And those of you who have not been to Nigeria, I bet you're missing so much. The truth about Nigeria is that we like exposing ourselves, and that's the truth. I don't think there's any other country in the whole world I've seen where people critique themselves, not just locally but internationally, as much as we do, or as much as Nigerians do. We are just hoping and believing that someday all these criticisms will result into quality leadership that will guarantee the future of our young ones. Yes, President Goodluck Jonathan, we know you have assembled a good team, but just like he said, we are saying that we need policies that will ensure, of course we have a number of good policies, but we are hoping that these professionals you've assembled will assist you in realizing the dreams of every Nigerian. So, Ed, it's been my pleasure chatting with you.
Nice
what we call a professional handshake, which is a tradition that is targeted towards encouraging the young ones out there to be like you. And we really feel inspired by your experience moving up the ladder. So my pleasure once again having you.
Thank you very much.
Please don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a moment to wrap up this show. Well, viewers, I'm sure you have been thrilled by this conversation with this core professional. Olowo-Okere remains a delight any day, and from his background, I'm sure you, the young ones, must have drawn some inspiration. Unfortunately, some praise singers might think we are being, or I am being, too critical of our government, but what I try to do is what our parents did when we were growing up. They spanked us, not because they hated us, but because they wanted the best out of us. And until you criticize, constructively though, a sitting government, you are not going to get the best out of them. If we all sit back and say, hey, nothing is going wrong, like a lot of sycophants do, we continue to get it wrong, because the president sitting in Aso Rock, of course, he sees with his ears, and what he hears from his aides are what his feelings about the country are. The same with our governors, the same with all our political office holders. And when we become critical about leadership, we are doing that because we want the best for our country, and we want the best out of the individuals we've put in offices to represent us and make Nigeria the great country that it is, as the largest in Africa, and of course the country with the best brains in the whole world. I remain Martin Sobu saying stay blessed, and I'll see you.